On today's episode of Andy and Ari on 3, we rank the hot seat situations. Yeah, there are 12 FBS jobs already open, but there are more destined to open up. Who is on the hottest seat? Is it the loser of the one we're calling the Hot Seat Bowl, the Kentucky Auburn game between Mark Stoops and Hugh Freeze? We'll also rank the other coaches on the hot seat. Plus, Cincinnati quarterback Brendan Sorsby joins the show. One of the best quarterbacks in the country, should be a Heisman candidate. He has a huge game at Utah this Saturday night. Also, we talk about Deion Sanders. We haven't talked about him in a while. What's going on with Colorado? They're just coming off one of their worst losses of the Deion Sanders era. What does he do to get it turned back around? We'll talk about all that on today's Andy and Ari on 3, presented by BetMGM. We are presented by BetMGM. We use BetMGM lines and totals. And you can join us by joining BetMGM. If you have not signed up for BetMGM yet, use the bonus code CFB as in college football, CFB, and you'll get up to a $1,500 first bet offer on your first wager with BetMGM. Here's how that works. Download the BetMGM app and sign on using the bonus code CFB. Deposit at least $10 to place your first wager on any game. You'll receive up to $1,500 in bonus bets if your bet loses. Just make sure you use the bonus code CFB when you're signing up. So download the app, deposit at least $10, place your first wager, up to $1,500 if your first bet loses. Use the bonus code CFB when you sign up. Make this college football season one for the history books. Make it legendary with BetMGM. See BetMGM.com for terms. 21 plus only. U.S. promotional offers are not available in New York, Nevada, Ontario, or Puerto Rico. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER in the U.S. Call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369 in New York. Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP in Arizona. Call 1-800-327-5050 in Massachusetts. Call 1-800-BETS-OFF in Iowa or 1-800-981-0023 in Puerto Rico. First bet offer for new customers only, subject to eligibility requirements. Rewards are non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire in 7 days in partnership with Kansas Crossing Casino and Hotel. Don't forget, if you haven't signed up for BetMGM yet, use the bonus code CFB and get your $1,500 first bet offer today. Welcome to Andy and Ari on 3, presented by BetMGM. We've talked an awful lot about job openings. We obviously had our emergency show, our longest emergency show in show history, when Brian Kelly got fired. LSU's open, Florida's open, Penn State's open, Arkansas's open, UCLA's open, Oklahoma State's open. It's huge. 12 FBS job openings already. But Ari, there are going to be more. This could be a historically large coaching carousel. And we need to figure out who's in the most danger right now.
Yeah, that's going to be quite the undertaking. I'm excited to do it. All I know for sure is we are going to be in November the next time we watch College Football Saturday, which means there isn't going to be a quiet Sunday for the rest of the year, I don't think. And everybody's doing it fast. Everybody's doing it quick. And, you know, I had this thought before we started recording, Andy, that you know how sometimes when you look around at the NFL draft and you're like, oh, well, this is a light receiver year, or this is a heavy quarterback year. Like quarterbacks or players in general who are going in the NFL draft, consider how many other players at their position that are actually elite are also in the field. Do you think people who are on the fence about their coaches ever consider how many other people are in the market? I feel like everybody is going to be in the market. There aren't a ton of bona fide, clear-cut decisions. Does it behoove any of these people to maybe swallow their pride and give it one more year because you don't want to be on the open market with 19 other elite level places, or is this the new normal in college football?
I think what happened last year where people held off is going to make them do it anyway this year. What you are saying is perfectly logical. There are some schools, especially on this list that I have of potential openings, that should probably look at the candidate pool this year and then look at the number of openings and say, nope, we're not taking part this year. But I don't know if they can do that. I think their fan bases will be so upset, especially because their fan bases are seeing all these other schools making changes saying, we hear you, we hear our fans, and we're going to make a change because we know you're tired of what's going on here. And so I don't think it's going to stop anyone.
Yeah. Because it's like LSU becoming open. Like if you're a Penn State fan, you just go, crap. You're a Florida fan, you just go, oh, God. Like, because I don't know what's going to happen with Lane Kiffin. But even if Lane Kiffin goes to LSU, that means that another candidate that's highly sought after will pick Florida, and thus that'll be harder for Penn State. It's like, I don't need to explain it. It's like a domino effect. So think about the jobs that we're going to rank today. Some pretty good jobs. Good jobs.
Right. And jobs that if you make the right hire, you change the whole trajectory of the program. But the right hire is going to be hard because everybody else is trying to make the right hire too. So
should Auburn be open when Penn State, Florida, and LSU are open ever?
It's a good question. It's a good question. Now, this is similar to 21 when you had USC, LSU, and Florida open, and then the USC and LSU openings created Oklahoma and Notre Dame openings. We may see something like that. And,
do you think that there is going to be a coach that won't come up on any hot board that just get poached unexpectedly like that happened twice or three times in 21?
I think it's possible. I do think it's possible. I would give you, if I could, I'd give you a name, but that's sort of the point of the thing is I would have never said Lincoln Riley or Brian Kelly.
Yeah. I'm trying to think who that person would even be, like just as a parallel. But then that would create speculation that we think they're leaving.
It would be Marcus Freeman, but again, I don't think he's going anywhere.
Names on every hot seat list that you can imagine. Like I'm talking, was Lincoln Riley, was his name on the hot seat list?
His name was connected to LSU, which I think is kind of funny. He doesn't have the same agent anymore, but he and Brian Kelly had the same agent at the time. And it was funny because they sort of let the LSU stuff fester so that people would ask about it. So that when he got asked about LSU, he's like, I'm definitely not going to LSU. And he wasn't lying, but the USC thing had been, when he said that, the USC thing had been in the works for weeks.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think of coaches that, like, I don't know. I don't recall this. You have a better memory than me, but I don't recall like Brian Kelly being on every hot seat or hot board.
He wasn't on any hot boards.
Right.
No one said Brian Kelly is going anywhere. Not a single person.
Who's a semi-successful to really successful coach that won't appear on hot boards that would just shock?
Dan Lanning is sort of off them now because he's made it abundantly clear he's not leaving.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty much the only one.
Yeah. Yeah. I wonder if we'll get a, oh my God, I cannot believe that happened move.
Hell, we got a Sark rumor last weekend. Like, I don't know that we're going to get anything like that.
Steve Sarkisian just took the LSU job. Wouldn't that feel like Lincoln Riley taking USC?
That would, but I don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Like, we got into a big argument about like Oklahoma's on the hierarchy of good jobs. And like, I think that Texas to LSU doesn't make as much sense as Oklahoma to USC, but even now you could make the case that USC isn't as good of a job as Oklahoma. I don't know. It's complicated.
Well, actually, can I ask you a question? Should we have Oklahoma and Brent Venables on this hot seat ranking? I didn't have them on my initial list.
I didn't see them, but I think we should.
Oh,
they probably would be on the bottom part because it's not fiery hot yet, but like we are 2 weeks away from it being scorching if it goes the wrong way.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like I feel like they need to finish 2-2 and he's fine. 2-2 of the last four and he's fine. But 2-2 of the last four with their last four is
not easy.
Kind of difficult. So, all right, let's start with the video that inspired me to create this segment. Our friend Matt Jones, who came on the show a couple of weeks ago. So he's on his show on Kentucky Sports Radio talking about the future of Mark Stoops. And we've said multiple times that our visit with Matt 2 weeks ago changed our perspective on the whole thing and made it not surprising when LSU did fire Brian Kelly, made it where we were figured it's perfectly plausible that Florida State might fire Mike Norvell. Here's what Matt said this week about Mark Stoops in Kentucky.
Here's where we are for the future. I know this there's rarely I say certainty, I'll say some certainty. I'd say we're now at 85 to 90% chance we'll have a new coach next year. I think more important than the specifics of the game was kind of how it played out. Specifically, and part of this was because it was raining, and part of this was because it was at night. But the fourth quarter was empty.
Yeah.
You were there. How empty are we talking?
Very empty. Actually, someone sent me a good picture yesterday. It's just unbelievable how the only people there are wearing orange.
The only way it could be different is if, in my opinion, is if they were to win if they were to go 6-6, which would mean beating Auburn, Florida, and then either Vandy or Louisville. Right? Does anyone on this show disagree with that?
No. If any 6-6.
Do you now think 5-7 also means a change? Because I do.
I do.
I guess I'd have to see who they beat to get those 5 wins.
I don't think the games left on the schedule are that impressive outside of Vandy.
I think the administration has said, let's wait a week and let's see what happens at Auburn. Not that Auburn could save his job, but Auburn could be the final nail, Ryan. That's how I look at it. Do you agree?
Yeah, they go on the road, they get embarrassed, don't play well. I think that would maybe be the final nail in the coffin.
And at which point, then I think they would be completely open to having the discussion of, all right, how do we end this? And starting to have that discussion with Stoops' people. Still, I think the people believe around the program, there's still a way to win 6 games. Now, we can all think that's ridiculous, but when you're in that locker room and you're playing, you can't think it's over.
No.
You still got 5 games to play. And I think they look at it and say, is it insane that we could beat Auburn, Florida, and one of Vandy and Louisville? Well, I mean, I guess it's not insane, right?
It's got a small percentage chance you could pull that off, I guess.
Oh, my. Ari, actually, River, put Kentucky's schedule back up, please. Here's the problem with this. Obviously, they're underdogs, double-digit underdogs at Auburn. Florida's fired its coach, so hey, whatever. But they're at Vandy. Vandy's clearly better. They're at Louisville, probably better. There's that Tennessee Tech game sitting there on November 15th. FCS team, I know. But Ari, do you perchance know what Tennessee Tech's record is this season?
I know that they are very good and are in position to. Are they undefeated?
They are 8-0.
Yeah,
they are 8-0.
I know that. I knew that. I don't know if you texted me this or somebody was texting me about this. I can't remember who it was, but yeah.
So I'm going to put Mark Stoops number 1 on the hot seat, which again, the Mark Stoops possibility of him not being there next year. That is the one I thought was completely impossible, that no one would pay that kind of buyout, which is $37 million, all due at once within 30 days of the firing. If someone will do that, people will do anything. So I'm going to put Mark Stoops number 1 just because it's either Mark Stoops or Hugh Freeze. Whoever loses this game is probably the one going first. Hugh Freeze, if he loses, is definitely fired.
So you have one of those two number 1 because it's impossible for one of these two teams, one of these two coaches, not to lose on Saturday.
Right. Exactly. So I because Stoops is the double-digit underdog, and because Hugh changed quarterbacks, I'm going to put Stoops number 1.
Well, are we just because I want to make sure I do this the same way as you? Are we doing this in terms of which one is your seat hotter because you think it's going to happen sooner?
Who's in the most danger
of losing their job soonest?
Yeah.
Okay, because here's what I was going to say. I was going to put Norvell number 1 because he's the only coach on the list that has a statement that basically said we're firing him at the end of the year. But
I don't disagree with that.
First one to be fired though. So if he's not, if that's
okay. But Ari, who does Florida State play this weekend?
Who does Florida State play this weekend? I don't know.
Wake Forest.
Oh yeah.
Wake Forest just beat SMU. Wake Forest should have beaten Georgia Tech. Justin Dickert has Wake Forest playing way above where anybody thought they'd be this year. Wake Forest can go win at Doak Campbell. If Wake Forest beats Florida State in Tallahassee, that might be it.
Yeah, I mean, there isn't a reason to believe that can happen considering the 4-game losing streak that Florida State is on and their most recent outing. But if it's who gets fired first, I guess he gets pushed down the list a little bit because my understanding is that the statement is that we're not making a move until after the year. So he won't be the first. I think he might be the most likely. But Matt Jones would know more than me about Kentucky. It seems crazy to me that Kentucky would fire Stoops in the middle of the year. Now, let me ask you this, because I've been thinking a lot about Stoops. You know, when we first started podcasting together 4 or 5 years ago, maybe it's been longer than that, you and I both had a mutual admiration. And that's where the bit that he had the best job in America came into play, and the buyout terms are part of that, but also you don't really need to do much in order to keep people happy there. That has changed because he's been so successful. They aren't happy with 5-7, 6-6. You have to go out and win 8-9 games to make them happy. But do you think that Stoops in general as a coach, we're talking about a person that was at least under consideration for the Texas A&M job a year ago, is cooked? Or do you think that the situation has just run its course and that he can be successful somewhere else?
It's a great question because obviously he came to Kentucky with a great plan, one that he executed very well, and that was go into Ohio, go into Big Ten territory and say, hey, Ohio State isn't offering you, but how about you come play in the SEC? It was a great idea. I do think people have copied it too. I also think certain people in the Big Ten have noticed that and taken advantage and said, no, you can stay in the Big Ten. We'll pay you good NIL money to stay here. So losing Vince Marrow, obviously, who is his kind of recruiting consigliere to rival Louisville, that hurts. I don't know.
He also was doing it at a time before Cincinnati was a power school and before NIL when all the things changed.
I think it may have run its course. I don't know. Although if he goes, like if you put Mark Stoops at an American conference school, I bet he'd win a bunch of games.
Yeah. It's how do you put him in a position where his smarts and connections to Ohio can help him amass a shockingly good amount of talent in comparison to the teams that he's playing on his schedule. But so I don't know. I feel like the amount of money is just so much, and the term of when it needs to be paid back is so much. And Matt Jones did come on the show, Andy, and say that they're doing a bunch of fundraising and spending on expansions of buildings around the area and the athletic department and stuff. Like, will they actually do it soon? Like if they lose Saturday, is he gone Sunday? I don't know that I think that's the case.
I think they might. I think like Matt said, you just go to the people and say, all right, we're going to work this out. We're going to make this happen. If I'm Mark Stoops and they come to me and say they're firing me and because they're probably going to ask to do a reduced one, I'd be like, no, absolutely not. You'll pay me every dime you owe me.
Yeah. So now the other side of the coin here is Hugh Freeze.
Correct. And
Kentucky
if Hugh Freeze loses this one, that's enough.
Kentucky's not very good. So I'm always amused by if team that's not very good and is a double-digit underdog loses a game on the road to a team that is better than it, we found out new information that we didn't know that before the game was played. Like that thought process of Mark Stoops loses this game, he's out. It's like, what did you learn by the loss that you didn't know today? Nothing. I guess maybe you want to see if, they can get off the mat and win a game they're not supposed to. Does that change your mind? But in terms of the long-term viability of him as the coach at Kentucky, the entire
you heard Matt, though, they're holding out hope that he can get him to a bowl this year.
Yeah. But your number one thing is always about the seats. Did you see the picture that they posted over the weekend?
Yes.
It was a ghost town in that stadium.
Yep. And that's exactly what it looked like right before they fired Joker Phillips and hired Mark Stoops.
Right. All right. Now to Hugh Freeze.
Yes.
I think that Hugh Freeze will be fired on Sunday if he loses on Saturday.
I would agree.
Because you're home and you're playing against a team that you're supposed to beat. You're a 10.5 point favorite. Like that, to me, from an optics standpoint, is far worse than Kentucky losing.
Yes. Yep. And I think now you've made the quarterback change that everybody wanted you to make, and maybe that works. And if it does, if Ashton Daniels plays as well as he did in the second half against Arkansas, you don't have anything to worry about here. You're going to beat Kentucky. You're going to move on.
If that happens. Doesn't that make you want to lose your mind if that happens?
It makes you mad as an Auburn fan. Why didn't you do this earlier?
Yeah, right. Like if the fix was right there on the bench, why are you the head coach unable to identify it? I'm watching
kind of a no-win situation.
I'm watching the show called Chad Powers. Have you seen the previews of this?
Yeah, it's next on my list when I finish Task.
It's very funny. But I was watching it, and there's a scene very early in the movie in the show about like him with his prosthetic face on and like whether or not the coach should put him in the game. And the coach is like, what should I do? Put the other guy in and then ruin both their conferences for the rest of the year? I'm like, yeah, this is exactly how people think in college football. Like, it's like, you're not just wondering about how you go win this football game right now. You're going to worry about like, what does this mean for everyone's emotions and all that stuff.
It's you.
It is me. But I also feel like the quarterback decision thing is the most tricky thing in the entire sport. Like, people get it wrong constantly at all levels, all over the country. Urban Meyer is one of the greatest coaches in the history of college football, and he got it wrong in a season they could have won a national title. Like, people get it wrong all the time. But like, if the fix to Auburn's offense was change the quarterback and now they're good, it's like, holy shit, you blew the entire season waiting to make that move. Like, I almost feel like it would be worse optically for them to be better now because of that.
Wow. Okay. Now, because I was going to put Norvell number 2 and then Hugh number 3, but maybe I should just have Hugh number 2.
I think Hugh should be number 1 because his danger of losing is high, and his danger of losing a game that makes him look terrible is the highest.
I think Norvell's is pretty high too, but
Yeah.
yes, I'm with you. Either one of those two, I understand. How about? I'm trying to figure out where we go from here.
Why don't we go to another place that it seems like it's imminent? We've talked about Auburn, Florida State to a certain extent, and Kentucky. Why don't we go to Wisconsin?
Yes, let's go to Wisconsin. The statement from Chris McIntosh confused me because it sounds like, oh, we're just going to try to throw some more money at this. But I don't know that throwing more money at the roster is going to change anything, especially now. You're probably going to be coming off a 3-9 or a 2-10 season. So why would you throw more money at the roster now? Like, that makes no sense.
You ever get in a fight with your wife and, you get into a fight, and in the middle of the fight, you don't want to lose the fight because that's what people do when they're fighting. But then you like walk out of the room or go on a drive or eat dinner alone or sleep on the couch or whatever it does after the fight is over, and like look in the mirror and go, this is my fault.
Yeah.
Or like, I'm in the wrong here. I need to go fix this.
Mm-hmm.
Is it possible that Wisconsin's in the wrong and they look at themselves in the mirror and go, hey, we didn't give this guy enough resources to be successful. We're going to give him another shot next year with the proper resources this offseason to go out and get good players. We're going to invest a shit ton of money in the program that we would have otherwise invested in his buyout, and we're going to give this one more go. Like, is that on the table?
I think it's definitely on the table. I don't think that's a place that makes decisions lightly. And I realize they fired Paul Chryst midseason when they fired him, but that was not a decision that was made lightly. And so, yeah, it may be that they just throw some money at it. And so as bad as things are, you would normally think to have Luke Fickell's name higher on this list. I would have Luke Fickell kind of middle of the pack. Can I give you another name to put higher on the list that maybe in the 4 or 5 range? Jonathan Smith at Michigan State.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like his chances right now because he's working for an AD who didn't hire him. Jay Batts, the new AD, came from Georgia Tech. He's the one who hired Brent Key at Georgia Tech. And Michigan State is just, they actually showed more life against Michigan than I expected. But they've lost 5 in a row, all in the Big Ten. They're at Minnesota. They play Penn State, at Iowa, and then Maryland, which, by the way, the Maryland one, Mike Loxley, we've said we think he's doing a decent job, but they keep losing games, and that may cost him his job. But Jonathan Smith's in worse shape, I think, because if this losing streak, what if they're 3-9? What do you do?
Yeah, I mean, we're getting to untenable range. Like, I think that if you know that this is going to be a build and it might take a year or two to get your footing, that's one thing. But they're already like on track to regress from his first year. Like, in this era, you don't get to get worse in year 2. You might not be great in year 2, but you got to show signs of improvement. Regression is the enemy of employment, I think, in college football. And I'm looking at the schedule right now. It seems like there are potential spots for wins. Like, I don't know. Like, I think beating Minnesota on the road would be tough. I don't know what Penn State is going to be by that point of the year. I think you could picture them getting going 2-2 in that span potentially, but I think that would be a pretty good turnaround for them. Like I think the likelihood of them going 0-4 against this schedule is much higher than 2-2.
Yeah, and so it's a tough deal. And like what version of Penn State do you see? Because Penn State will have just played Ohio State and Indiana back to back, and you'll just set an open date. So maybe that's your spot right there. But 4-8 is not much more encouraging than 3-9. So you need to win the Maryland game too. But it is, I don't know. I don't like it. I don't like this situation for him. It doesn't feel like Michigan State fans like him very much. He doesn't have the big kind of personality that makes fans love you anyway. I'm not saying he has a bad personality. This isn't like a Brian Kelly situation where he's sort of pushing people away. I think just that they've not really gotten to know him, grow to love him, anything like that.
Well, what is his deal? That's the thing. Like, we're podcasters. He's been in the job for 2 years. We did talk, when he first took the job, that he took Aiden Childs with him. But like, I used to have arguments with you about Michigan State like once a month on the old show when Mel Tucker was there.
Yeah.
Like we used
don't
to
talk about him at all.
What their plan was, or whether that plan could work, or if he's crazy enough to figure it out. Like Mel Tucker was a lightning rod. And I know it didn't work out. Obviously, it was not going well before he got fired for cause. But like, I don't even know, like, if somebody, like, if I got invited to talk to the Michigan State quarterback club about Michigan State football and its direction, like, I would need to like spend hours researching that. And like, I don't know if that's a good sign or not. Like, as somebody who talks about, thinks about, watches, obsesses over college football for 60 hours of my week every week, I don't know the first thing about their plan. And it's like, why is that?
And if you go cruise the Spartan Mag message boards, that's exactly what their fans are saying. That's what frustrates their fans is, what is the plan here? What is this guy's deal? What does he want? How it's a tough one.
Because the trick to everything in this sport, and even maybe getting an extra year or even two of leeway, is at least developing a vision or a thought process or a plan that people can latch onto. It's like weight loss. You don't lose 100 pounds in a year, but you'd like to be down 23 after year one. So it even looks like you're in the right direction. Like Mel Tucker was at least getting commitments from high level prospects. They upped their recruiting results. I think he swung too big and was trying and wasting too much time on players that were getting recruited by Bama and Georgia. But there's no question he had like a bunch of 4-star players that wouldn't have otherwise committed there in the past signed up. He had 5-star players coming to visit. I went and wrote a whole story about this gym that's in south of Oklahoma City in Durant, Oklahoma, where people from North Dallas and Oklahoma City used to go train at. And there was like, I think David Stone used to train there. There was a bunch of kids that were like Division I prospects training in this random gym by the casino. And of course I went because there was a casino nearby, of course. But like Mel Tucker was there like 20 times, I think. Like he was trying really hard to
get dudes.
Like, it's like, I haven't heard a single thing like that about Jonathan Smith.
Yeah. All right. We're going to talk 2 more jobs, and I think they're kind of in the same vein, but very different situations. But they are basically 20 miles apart. North Carolina and NC State.
Mm-hmm.
Dave Doran has lost 4 of 5 at NC State, and the rest of the schedule is not kind. They play Georgia Tech this week. They're at Miami in 2 weeks. Then Florida State, North Carolina. So they could win the last 2, theoretically. They are probably not going to win the next 2, which it basically puts them behind the 8 ball, having to win one of those last 2 to get bowl eligible. But 6-6 is not really what NC State dreams of. So I do wonder, has that run its course?
Seems like it.
So I think that could be one, and especially if they lose one that they're not supposed to lose, which, Florida State's talented enough to beat them. And the thing is, like, NC State has a good quarterback in CJ Bailey. Hollywood Smothers is good. I worried when they lost Tony Gibson to Marshall where the defense would go. And I think you've seen that. But so you got that one. But then obviously the one we've all been talking about, North Carolina, they've lost 4 in a row. They have not beaten a power conference team. They have gotten better It seems like they were in the last two games. They lost the last two games in very close fashion. They were running a play, a 2-point conversion in overtime that could have beaten Virginia, and Virginia's got a great record. So do we think Belichick and company get over the hump this week at Syracuse?
I don't know. I don't know what needs to be done for you to be like, oh, this is going okay. Like, I think the cat's out of the bag with this guy.
That's my issue. Is he's got a 3-year contract. He's in his 70s. You can't, like, the Michael Lombardi letter, their GM sends the letter where he talks all about the process in the Philadelphia 76ers. Like, you don't have that long.
Yeah.
And also sucking in the ACC does not get you better draft picks. So, like, I don't think they understand, like, they did not understand what they were getting themselves into. They fielded a bad roster. You can say it's because of when they got hired, but I'll point out that Jake Dicker got hired at Wake Forest 7 days after Bill Belichick got hired, and Wake Forest is good. So
here's my
your
theory,
fault.
We know that Bubba Cunningham wasn't running through hoops to get him.
He didn't want him. Yeah.
So I wonder if they have no choice but to keep him for another year to save face on how terrible the hire was to begin with. Like, if he's not the head coach at North Carolina next year, my understanding or thought would be it's because he doesn't want to do it anymore. I don't think that North Carolina is going to fire him.
Okay, I would say that, and that's what I was said a couple weeks ago. But with everybody throwing all this money around, like, North Carolina can pay $20 million, be rid of him, and be good next year. If they make the right hire, they could be good next year.
Do you think the people who pushed for this hire are happy about it?
No.
Or do you think they're embarrassed?
I think they're embarrassed.
And then if they're embarrassed, does embarrassment turn into rectifying that embarrassment or doubling down on yourself, hoping to be proven right? I guess it depends on the personality of the people who.
Yeah, that's the question. And you're right. You're asking the key question, because if they are doubling down, there's no chance they get fired. They'll all stay here and they'll be bad again next year. If they want to dump out of it, they can just raise the money.
Yeah. But I don't feel like going into the offseason that North Carolina is building to something really good. I think next year will be a disaster too.
No, because everybody watched this year. It's going to be really hard. You're going to have to pay people more than you would have had to pay them to get them to come. Because they watched this year.
What's the number one selling point now? Like, last year, at least you could hide behind the allure of Super Bowls. What's the selling point now? What's fun about playing for Bill Belichick now?
You might meet Jordan.
What year? Maybe because it's different. Like, it's like pop culture and like fashion and apparel and stuff. But like, when do you think kids are going to stop caring about Michael Jordan?
No. I don't mean Michael Jordan. I mean Jordan Hudson.
Oh.
I'm not talking about this.
I love that that's where your head went.
Yeah, sorry. I couldn't care less about meeting Jordan Hudson. Sorry. It wouldn't even occur to me to even, if I saw her walking around down the street, I would cross the street so we didn't touch paths.
I'm not talking about this.
It's so mean.
Actually, I would do anything to get her on the record for 20 minutes and just ask her 20 questions.
What a show that would be.
If you could pick one person.
We're not going to be mean to you like Pablo Torre would.
Yeah, no, we are not trying to get to the bottom of anything. I'm more interested in this sex shop your mom's working at and owning.
Also, Adobe Photoshop. Any Adobe Photoshop advice? I'll take it.
Andy, if you could pick one guest who had to come on our show for 5 minutes and tell the truth, no matter what we asked, who would you pick? You can ponder.
Jordan Hudson's up there.
Yeah, what would be best for our show, and what would you what
Urban Meyer?
What would be best for our show, and what would satisfy my own personal curiosity? It might be two different things.
Yeah.
Jordan Hudson would probably be. I don't know. Do you think our fans or listeners and college football fans would want to hear what Jordan Hudson has to say about anything?
I think everybody would. Not just the people who normally watch the show. I think we get a lot of newbies.
Yeah, I know we get newbies, but I want newbies that will stick around. I don't want newbies who are coming in from like TMZ.
How about Nick Saban?
Nick Saban would probably be it for me and our listeners.
I would enjoy that. Like, every rumor we've ever heard, and he tells us, yes, that happened, or no, that didn't happen. Like, I would love that.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of great guests, we have one coming up. Hot seat conversation. His coach was on it before the season, very much not on it now. Scott Satterfield having a great year at Cincinnati, but one of the reasons he's having a great year, Brendan Sorsby has been phenomenal at Cincinnati. One of the best quarterbacks in the country. He joins us next. We're joined now by one of the best quarterbacks in the country, Brendan Sorsby of Cincinnati, who was telling us before we started recording that if you liked Cincinnati's uniforms, especially the ones they wore against Baylor on Saturday, which were pretty awesome with the white with the Cincy, all red. So that is your doing. How do you do that? How do you figure out what the team is going to wear, and who do you have to fight on the team to make sure it's what you want?
Yeah, so, obviously we went all red versus Nebraska, so a little bit of superstition there. We didn't want to go back to it necessarily, but we knew that we had to go all red for the most part. So, the white lids look really good, and we kind of wanted the Cincy on the side, so I was like, hey, we could go white, red with pretty much white accessories and all that good stuff. So, and then the other captains decided on the Cincy on the helmet to match the jersey, and, that was that. So ended up turning out looking really good, so I was excited with it.
I think that white helmets are the best looking helmets in all of football. And like, do you feel like if you look good, feel good, play good, and win when you wear a uniform combination, are you more willing to go back to the well there?
Oh, absolutely. We'll go back to the well, all the time. But when you do have the loss and the one loss on the season and the all reds, you're a little hesitant to go back to it. So, you got to find a way to switch it up just a little bit. And the white helmets were a good switch up for sure. So,
Andy, before the show, though, he was like talking about how the offensive linemen aren't going to drip it out as much as the other skill.
Yeah, because Gavin Gerhardt's one of the other captains. He's the center, and the centers are usually like the least swaggiest person on the team. They don't want swag. It messes with the snapping hand. Like, yeah, how much is the swag piece of it matter when you're picking all this stuff?
Oh, it matters for sure, especially whenever you got the DBs and the wideouts and myself. I try to hold myself out of it, but I still got to look good out there. So the linemen have some say, but not really whenever it comes to uniforms. More so the skill guys and the QBs and running backs and all those guys will want to have pretty much final say whenever it comes to jerseys. So we let the linemen take care of a lot, but uniform combos not so much.
That's so funny because I know they can't wear the cool arm sleeves and have like the create a player vibe where you
they can, but they'll get made fun of for it.
No, I know, but they can still pick what looks good, can't they? Like what looks good, what combination looks good. I don't know.
They don't necessarily know what looks good because they don't get to they don't get to put it on. Sometimes they do get to see, I guess, what other guys look like in it, but
yeah.
So
just a certain feeling.
Brendan, you mentioned that Nebraska game and little superstition there, but that you haven't lost since. You end that game with an interception. I talked to somebody who was in the locker room after that game. You sulking over what had just happened. You were the one up there getting everybody else kind of rallied, saying, "Hey, this isn't us. We're going to be better than this." What was going through your mind at that moment, and how much did what you learned that night about your team affect you the rest of the way?
Yeah, like we knew, that game didn't truly have anything to do with our end of season goals. And, going through that game, and obviously we battled some adversity, especially in the past game. We knew that we had the talent and stuff, and it was our first game going out there and meshing with the new wideouts, and obviously, our first true game. So we weren't too overly worried about it. We knew obviously we wanted to go out there and win. That was, obviously the number one goal that night, but it didn't go our way. We had a rough ending. We were moving the ball though pretty much all night. We just couldn't find a way to put it in the end zone. So we knew that we beat ourselves that day, and that we had a lot to learn from and we could get better. But at the end of the day, we wanted to end up in Dallas at the end of the season. We knew that didn't have too much to do with that. So it was right back to work. Our guys did a great job of responding and didn't bat an eye. So we were excited to get back out to work, and it shows.
How fun is it to be on a player on a team? You lose that game, you fall out of the national discussion, and then week by week you win, and then like it starts to build. Like, what's it like in the locker room to see that building process, and now to watch Cincinnati kind of inch their way into that discourse?
Yeah, winning is obviously number one, and when you win, you start to get more attention from not only the fans of your team, but just nationally, like you just said. So when you can find a way to win, everything is better. So we just got to keep finding ways to do that. Obviously, whenever you win, you get more personal accolades, and players get more attention and all that good stuff. So we just got to keep doing what we're doing and stay the course. And at the end of the year, whenever it's time to give awards out to individuals and stuff, if we keep winning, then a lot of us will be up for those discussions. But it all starts with winning.
So one of the keys to winning was improving your wide receiver core this offseason, and those guys have been awesome for you this year. I heard you helped a lot in terms of recruiting these guys, and because Cyrus Allen came from Texas A&M, Caleb Goody, he was at Colorado State, Jeff Caldwell was at Lindenwood. Like, how's that work? How did you introduce yourself, and how did you kind of get those guys to believe in what you guys were doing?
Yeah, so I mean, our recruiting guys are unbelievable, and they do a good job of watching and evaluating everybody in the country. And they came to me with a couple of guys, and I like these guys that they had brought to me, and I end up just reaching out, whether it was through text or DM, whatever. I know like DMing them is a big deal. So it was I slid into their DMs and told them that they need to come check us out, and they did. And I think just myself and the staff just being genuine, I think they really appreciated that about us. So it was really just about getting them on campus, showing them what we're about, and then just interacting with them, and that was good.
Brendan, this isn't much of a pop culture podcast. We like to talk about ball and food, but I have to ask you, like, Travis Kelce gets engaged to the most famous human being on earth and then is at your game in the opener. Like, what do you have any funny Kelce stories, or is there anything that do you meet Taylor Swift? I mean, what's it like to have that level of fame at your game?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty unreal, obviously, just everything about it, but didn't get to meet T Swift. I wish I did, maybe one day down the road. But I did get to meet Travis. He's a really cool dude. He seems genuine and just a lot of energy. So that was cool. No crazy stories yet. Same thing, maybe down the road a little bit. Maybe I'll have some crazy stories to share. But, no, just seems like a good dude. Him and Jason, a lot of energy, and love the Bearcats. So that's what.
Yeah, and I think that Jason Kelce would probably take exception to the fact that offensive linemen don't have swag, right? Wasn't he named the most handsome man on the face of the earth a few years ago by some stupid magazine?
Listen, you're asking a quarterback. He's gonna stick it for every center. Hey, Brendan, you started your career at Indiana, and have kind of been through a lot of different things as a quarterback. But I want to take you back to your first career start. So you're 2023, first career start against Ohio State. Were you wondering, is this for me during that first game?
Yeah, not necessarily. Is this for me? But I was definitely I don't know if I'm ready for this quite yet. I think it kind of opened my eyes to just the level, of preparation that it takes to come out here and execute at a high level. I would say that was the biggest thing that stood out to me. And then just the speed, obviously. I didn't start a game from high school until that moment. And it was definitely a little bit of an upgrade from high school to Ohio State. So it was a fun time, going out there getting the feet wet, but definitely opened my eyes to the level of preparation that you got to prepare for.
And I know you're locked in on Cincinnati, but do you ever look back at the program that you started your career at and then look at what it's now, and do you even recognize it?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's really impressive what they're doing over there. Still got a lot of buddies over there, so I'm always rooting for them. They're doing a really good job over there. Props to those guys. Props to the staff over there. They're doing great things.
So, got to ask you, you had one of your teammates mention that you look like Lamar Jackson out there against Baylor, and I'm sure when I say that, you laugh. People are laughing. But let's go to the video. Let's go to the video. Watch this. Whoop. I mean, you're just like I got that video by Googling the phrase Brendan Sorsby taking ankles, and it's the first thing that popped up.
It's also the first hit that comes up when you type in Lamar Jackson to Google.
What is that moment like? Take us through that play, and what do you see when you catch the snap there?
Yeah, so I saw a lot of grass, and it was just kind of last second that he came into my vision, and I was like, well, somehow, some way, I got to make him miss. And then I ended up pulling that out of the bag, so it ended up working out for me, whatever you want to call it. And the high steps just, I don't know what I do with the high step. It just kind of happens. So no complaints walking into the end zone, but definitely a fun moment.
You're more of a run people over kind of guy, or at least have been in your, because for those who don't know, you're huge. Like you're 6'3", 240. And so did you know you had this in you?
Yeah, I've always had a little bit of shiftiness in me. Last year I was, kind of abusing the spin move. Figured it out one game, but it could work. And then after that, it was like, all right, Brendan, like you don't have to spin every single time that you come in contact with somebody. But, I think just whenever you're one-on-one, I think you have a better chance of scoring if you can make somebody miss by trying to juke them out or something rather than just run through them. So I leave running through people to Tawi, and then, I'll get a little shifty every now and then.
Yeah, I would like to know what else is in the bag. Maybe you dust off the spin move and bring it back now that it's been a while,
Is there a hurdle? You got a hurdle? Or will Satterfield kill you if you hurdle somebody?
Well, if it works, he wouldn't kill me. But if it didn't work, he would probably kill me.
We're not nearly – I'll speak for me. Andy's pretty athletic. You wouldn't – I can barely tie my shoes without losing my breath. But the thing that I will notice as a spectator of the sport, I watch a lot of football, dude. So many people hurdle when they shouldn't. Like, I think that people, like you say, you like abused the spin move. I think people hurdle at like the worst times, and like a team lost a game over the weekend because somebody jumped for no reason. Like, it's like you have to really not give in to the temptation, because I feel like if there are 10 hurdles, 9 of them are awful, and there's only one good one.
But the one, if you
not
can say one,
the one that hits is special. No, but all the time nowadays, like people are hurdling and like the defender is standing straight up, and it's like, okay, so you're either going to catch a flying knee or you're going to get, body slammed. It's one of the two. So
yeah,
I don't know if I feel too comfortable yet to hurdle people, but when the time comes, the time will come, and we will see if it works out.
But you're starting to creep up on Heisman odds boards. I mean, you might need to hurdle somebody to get that moment,
Yeah, late in the year, if it's still trending that direction, and it's going to come down to whether or not I hurdle somebody, I might give it a try. But
we're rooting for that.
We'll address that when the time.
Yeah, I'm getting a call right now. It's Scott Satterfield. He said the interview's over, so just let you know right now. All right, one more question though. You guys are headed to Utah. Late kick. One of the great road environments in the new Big 12. And Nippert's its own special environment too. Kind of similar, both, bigger city schools, very compact stadium where people are just right on top of you. How much do you think you're seeing what, teams face in your environment will help you when you go to an environment like this?
Yeah, it'll help us a lot. And then, also playing at the neutral site against, Nebraska in week 1. It was extremely loud there. And, I think that's going to help us as far as going on the road in a really loud environment, having to probably use the silent cadence and everything like that. We'll be ready for it. It's going to be an awesome environment. It's going to be, you got college game day there, great atmosphere with the fans. And, obviously it's a night game. So it'll be a lot of fun. We're going to have our work cut out for us, but we're going to be ready for it.
What are we wearing?
Should be I think they're going blackout, so I think we'll be in some variation of white. So we'll see what we end up putting together. But I don't think it's going to be all white, but we'll see.
Okay. Don't think it's interesting because everybody's like, you got to be the stormtroopers. The stormtroopers were the most incompetent fighting force in movie history. So just remember that when you think about all white, remember that and resist it.
Like I said, I don't think it's going to be all white. Might have a little bit of black in there. But
okay. Brendan Sorsby, good luck this weekend. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate y'all.
you being here, man. It's been fun to watch you.
Thank y'all.
That was Brendan Sorsby, and we will see what the Bearcats are wearing at Rice-Eccles Stadium when we tune in late Saturday. Aria, you and I are going to be doing the post-game show during that game.
Can't wait. Yeah, Eastern time kind of speeds things up a little bit, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Hey,
It's the time the world moves on. It's cool.
Yeah. Eastern
Welcome
time.
back.
You're in Eastern time, right?
Hell yeah, I'm Eastern time.
Dude, you are like, I feel like I'm really tired at the end of Saturday. I can't imagine that extra hour that you're up.
Oh, it's listen. When Stanford beat Florida State, and I was just reading the War Chant message boards for an hour afterward, and I went to bed at 3:30 in the morning. It was glorious, glorious. All right, let's talk Panini though. Before we talk a little bit of Deion Sanders, visit PaniniAmerica.net to start collecting your favorite college and NFL stars. Ari, of course, has his stack of nukes on his desk at all times. I have a pack of Panini Select H2 right here. We are looking for disco prisms. We are looking for shiny, shiny things. Let's see what we got. Ari. We got Tip Ryman. We got a former Gator, Kyer Elam. Former BYU Cougar, Taysom Hill. We got a little prism. Former Buckeye, Denzel Ward. Oh, you may have heard this guy, Lamar Jackson. And Ari, your fantasy team is calling it's Kyle Pitts.
I'm never going to give up on you, Kyle. Ever.
Couple former Gators in the pack, Kyle Pitts and Kyer Elam.
Okay, as part of this discussion, I've lined out some cards here.
Okay.
What do you think of Jackson Smith and Jigba?
Love
do you
him.
think that you can say that he is a top 3 receiver in the NFL right now? Or do you think it's still premature?
Not quite yet. I think,
On the
okay. So
ascent,
Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase are the two best.
clearly,
We can agree on that.
no debate.
T. Higgins, even though he's on the same team as Jamar Chase, and they're not, Joe Flacco can kind of throw him the ball. I do think Emeka Ibuka, if we're talking former Ohio State receivers who have the chance to be really good, but I think JSN is further along for sure.
I think that the third best would be Amon-Ra St. Brown.
I think you're right. Yeah, that's a good one.
So I'm like in kind of a tizzy because I collect players that I wrote recruiting profiles about when they were in high school.
Mhm.
And obviously a lot of the players that I collect are Ohio State players because that was where my job was. But
And
as I-
JSN's in his hometown, right? Like he's from Seattle.
No,
He's
JSN's
from Texas.
Rockwell.
He's from Texas. He's
Yeah.
from Texas.
But I did a bunch of stuff on him when he was a recruit. So I bought a bunch of his cards hoping that it would pan out. I've got a PSA 9 Contenders Cracked Ice auto, and that one's numbered to 23. This is one of the most sought after JSN cards on the face of the earth. I have a tie-dye prism out of that product that you just pulled. 25. That's a PSA 10. I've got another tie-dye. This one is a club level one. PSA 10. Got rookie optic autograph right here. PSA 10 out of Contenders.
So you are heavily invested in JSN.
I have a million really big JSN cards, and I'm trying to decide whether I should limit my exposure now or hold them longer. And
so
I don't know
here's
to
what
do.
I would say. I would say wait and see what the Seahawks do at quarterback, because I don't think Sam Darnold is the quarterback of the long future.
Because so much of this too is pop culture, and I feel like JSN is starting to become really cool to like kids too. Like dunking on the goalpost after he scored.
Yeah.
He's
super smooth. He's very cool. He's very gifable. He's very his highlights pop.
He's got a name that you can make into a 3-letter,
abbreviation.
JSN is a cool abbreviation.
Yeah.
Like it's like Justin Jefferson is Jay Jettas and Jamar Chase is just Jamar. Like he's gonna have a nickname too. Like I don't know what to do here, but I'm sitting on a bunch of JSN product. So anyway, those are some of my favorite cards. I have PC cards that I'll never sell. But these cards were investments, and I don't know whether to cash in on that investment. It's kind of like gold. Like, do you sell gold? I don't know. This is better than gold.
You don't sell gold. Keep the gold, just like your dad. PaniniAmerica.net to start your collection. And speaking of JSN and the Buckeyes, we got the Ohio State blaster boxes. These are so cool because you might pull a big Jeremiah Smith card. You might pull a big Julian Sayin card. Those guys, obviously, as their careers advance, are going to be big time. PaniniAmerica.net. Start your collection today. Ari, let's talk about a guy we have not talked about in a long time, who we used to talk about a lot more. Deion Sanders.
Yeah. Interesting conversation. I think it's a delicate conversation.
Because I don't think this is we'll start with Colorado got destroyed by Utah on Saturday. And Deion Sanders came out after the game and was completely upfront about it. Here's Deion after the game.
I got a lot of respect for Coach Whittingham, and he kicked my butt today. It was one-on-one with me and him, and he won by a significant margin. Love him, appreciate him, love his endurance, his longevity. The attitude of his team resembles the attitude that he has for himself. This is bad. It's probably the worst beating I've ever had, except for when my mama whooped me as a kid. 422 yards rushing, you ain't winning. You're not winning. 300 yards, you're not winning. 250, you're not winning. It's not capable. Total offense, 140 yards, you're not winning. You're not winning. They had 587 yards of total offense. You're not winning. With that, special teams gave up a fake punt as well as a block punt. You're not winning. So all three phases, we got our butts kicked. Let's go.
Not wrong. Now, Colorado's lost 3 of the last 4. They are 1-4 in Big 12 play. They did beat Iowa State, which that's a pretty good win. They have, I would say, winnable games against Arizona and West Virginia coming up. And if you could win both of those, then your last 2, you can win 1 and get bowl eligible. But the question is,
their last 2 are Arizona State and Kansas State, by the way. So
yes, those are going to be much harder. K-State, maybe not. We'll see. They're kind of up and down
on the road, though.
The question is, do we think Deion Sanders can build something at Colorado, or did it just kind of end when the Louis luggage left?
So here's the thing that I thought was interesting, and you even said it yourself when you started the show, or the segment, I should say. And now next, we're going to talk about a coach that we haven't talked about in a while, but we used to talk about all the time.
Yeah.
There's nothing to talk about. And I don't know if that is when the sexiness starts wearing off. Like when he first started, it was new. It was exciting. You were on the edge of your seat. Now it's kind of just like, what is the plan for getting, systematically better year over year? I mean, that was always the criticism for Colorado, right? And he did much better. I mean, they didn't win a bunch of games, but they were better as a team, I think, in year 1. Year 2,
and
obviously,
certainly got better year 1 to year 2.
Year 2 was the build to the next thing. And then he got quarterbacks to come in to replace Shador, and it made you feel like, hey, things are going well. But like in the portal era, again, it comes back to the same criticism of, if you're not signing classes and maintaining players to the level at which I know he's capable of, then are you just you're just a product every year of what you happen to get out of the portal and whether it hits. And then also, I know this is an incredibly difficult and delicate situation because Deion Sanders also just overcame something that no human being should have to overcome from a personal health standpoint.
Well, and this is okay, but that piece of it. So he had bladder cancer. He had to have his bladder removed. He's also recently had an operation to treat some blood clots. I don't doubt Deion Sanders' Yeah, I don't doubt his desire to be a good coach at Colorado. Like, he's proven that. The fact that he's coaching at all now, he does not have to be doing this. The man's made his money. He doesn't need this. Like, he's clearly doing this because he wants to be a good coach at Colorado. So all of the idiots like me who wondered if this was daddy ball or any of that, it's not. He wants to do this. And he's doing more than most people ever would, because most people in his situation would be like, I'm shutting it down. And so I do wonder what it is. What does it look like going forward if it's not sexy, if it's not something we're all talking about, if they are just another Big 12 team.
And the importance of his quotes, because he's so, like those. That was an interesting quote that he gave. I haven't been whooped like this since my mommy whooped me when I was a kid, or whatever he said. Like, he's always a dynamic personality, a highly entertaining personality, and like actually feels like I would, like, in terms of getting lunch with, would be a cool guy to eat with, But if you go 4-8, your quotes become less important because they don't really amount to what's going on in the sport. Like, at the beginning of his tenure, there was still the fantasy that Colorado was going to do something magnificent, that they were going to go to the playoff, they were going to shake the paradigm of the sport, that they were going to be a new big dog. But there are a lot of coaches who say interesting things and act in a really interesting way at places that aren't winning, that it doesn't hit. So I do think that, like, for Deion to be successful long term, the results of what we get on the field have to match the bravado off of it. The bravado is only important if you're good. So I still think that he can get the attention of any high school player in the country. I still think that Deion Sanders is a famous, interesting person that can recruit his ass off if he, physically is able to do so. So, like, I'm not at the position where I feel like, oh, the program is cooked.
Yeah, I don't think that either. And if I'm Colorado, like, I want Deion to stay as long as he wants to stay, because they're still selling more tickets. Their crowds are better.
But the question is, will they continue to sell more tickets? Will their crowds be better if they go 4-8 2 years in a row?
Probably not. But that you give him the benefit of the doubt, because he is selling you tickets and he is getting people in the door. And yeah, if the results aren't there for 2 years in a row, you may lose those people. And it's funny, because not funny. It's just, it is what it is. It's the same discussion we had earlier in the show about Kentucky. It's a discussion we had about Virginia Tech earlier in the season, UCLA early in the season. The seats tell you everything. LSU, Saturday night. The seats tell you everything. And Colorado's still sold out.
And let me take you through another thing to wrap it around to the beginning of the show. If this year's coaching carousel were happening at this time last year, would Deion Sanders' name be on every hot board that
every single one?
And how many times have you written Deion Sanders' name in a hot board that you've done it on 3 this year?
0. And the one at his alma mater is probably going to happen. There's probably going to be a published hot board for Florida State at some point.
And his name probably goes on it just based on connection. But
I don't even know if it does.
But if it does, it's based on connection. Like, he doesn't have. Do we think that he has what it takes to lead a team that like going 7-5 or 8-4 isn't a success? Like, do we think he has what it takes to lead a team that wants to win a national title? And it's not even.
I think it would be hard to hire him at this point.
And that part of it too is out of his control, because like I covered Thad Matta at Ohio State's basketball, and he's back in the game. But like, there got to a point where, the greatest coach potentially in Ohio State basketball history that brought Greg Oden and Mike Conley and John Diebler and all these guys, the coach to Ohio State, was a tremendous recruiter. They went to the Final Four multiple times during his tenure. Jared Sullinger, D'Angelo Russell, like, they brought a lot of really good players through Ohio State. The man has back problems, and he had a hard time getting on an airplane. Like, there are certain things that you just can't do, or that you have to be able to do from a physical standpoint as a coach to get the most out of. So like, part of this is like not even his fault. Like, I think he's a badass for battling through it, for sure. But like, could you hire Florida State's coach if he is unable to travel every week, or if he's unwilling to travel every week? Like, I don't know that there's another program in college football that would allow Deion Sanders to run the program the way that Colorado has given him the leeway to run it, right?
No, I don't think so. Not at a higher level than Colorado.
That's what's so hard. It's like, you could say, like, how many other college football programs would allow their head coach to be away from the program for months on end during the offseason? But on the other hand, it's like, well, he was also battling like a major health problem and had to be away from the program. So like, I don't know like how to, but like, if he was the head coach of Florida State last year when this was happening, like, could he be in Texas for 2 months?
It would be hard. It would be hard. So I do think the good thing is he's at Colorado. I don't like he's working hard at Colorado. He's doing the best he can at Colorado.
He has my respect forever for what he's done. Like,
I'm not worried about that. It is interesting though. You brought it to the right place, this conversation, because you're right. This time last year, his name's on every hot board. And I think now it would just be difficult to do that. So let's see how he finishes the season. But I am curious to see what the next steps are, because he's going to have to continue to build this program up. Like, it's going to need to get better than it was this year. And he's going to have to build the roster better. And I still believe he can do it. So, and maybe a year, an off season where he's not dealing with all this other stuff.
I still think that he could go get the next Travis Hunter.
Yes.
I
don't disagree with you.
I think he could go get a badass safety or a badass corner and a badass quarterback and a badass receiver. Also, LeJontay Wester was really good. Like, they had a lot of good players last year.
Jimmy Horn Jr. Yeah.
How did they get better last year? Because Deion Sanders is a genius? No, because Deion Sanders is a genius in getting players to play for him. Like, I think he can still get players to play for him, but I don't know if like there was this like steady build of Colorado getting better year over year before arriving as an annual national title contender. I think it's, you might have a really good year one year, you might be pretty bad the next year, and it's going to be kind of like the luck of the draw, as long as they aren't recruiting high school players that they intend to have in their program for 20 of those a year. Like, there is no building process. It's the same thing we talk about with every other transient program that relies a lot on the portal. What can you get in a 1 year, and are you going to be lucky? Like, are you going to be good this year? Or are you going to be bad? And I think kind of that's where I feel about Colorado at the moment.
We'll have to see what happens the rest of the way with this team. Again, they got a couple of winnable games in a row. Can they get it turned around? We'll find out. Tomorrow, Mega Board Wednesday. Oh my God, the message boards are on fire. On3 had its highest traffic day in the company's history this week. Can't imagine why. We have so much to talk about. Lane Kiffin's trolling Brent Venables. And also doing hot yoga on the road and explaining why.
Also,
talk about that
was
tomorrow.
trolled by Brent Venables, but yes, talk about it tomorrow.